closer to the top stretcher. Repeat the process on the other side. Lining the strap up to the same place that I screwed it in over there. Make sure that how you're going to screw it in is going to work out for it attaching to itself. Next, we're going to grab a bag that was in the mechanism box. Has the remaining screws in there. In here we'll find 4 hex head bolts, 2 Allen head bolts, 6 nylock nuts, and 4 small flathead screws. You're going to want to take 2 of the hex head bolts, 2 of the nylock nuts, and set them to the side. You want to take the remaining bolts, take an Allen head and a hex head, 1 for each side. The Allen head bolt goes in the very bottom hole that fits it. The hex head bolt is going to go in the top hole. Do the same on the other side. We're going to want to tighten the Allen bolt completely so it's nice and snug. I'm going to repeat the process on the other side. Now that we have that tightened up, we'll get ready for the next step. This next step, we're going to be installing the optional table. If you didn't purchase a table, then you can just skip this step. The hardware we're going to be using: 3 3/8" screws. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver bit. You're going to have your knob with a grommet on it. You're going to need a 5/16" drill, and you're going to have some hinge screws. For this next step, it's nice to have an extra person help you. First, what you're going to want to do is flip the bed face. Now that we have the bed flipped over, we can begin attaching the table to the bed face. You'll note that there's a hinge on the bottom here. I'm going to make sure that that's going towards the bottom of the bed face. What you want to do is, with your partner, slide the table closer to the top. The exact position isn't crucial at this point. Next, with your tape measure, you're going to want to find the center of the bed face, center the table on there. You're going to want to remember this measurement for later. Next, you're going to want to go 27 1/8 up from the bottom of the bed face. Next, with your assistant, you're going to want to stand the table up. Pull the hinge down, and while he holds it, I'll center it. Now in this position, from the table to the bottom of the bed face, it should be 26 3/8. You're going to want to make sure that it's still centered. Now you're going to take the drill with the Phillips bit. You're going to take your hinge screws. You want to set one end of the hinge. Now double check your measurements. It's not exactly 26 3/8. It'll still be fine. Try to match up the other side to what this side is. So if it's not exactly 26 3/8, try to match this side up. You want to set the other corner. And you're going to want to lay the table down. Double checking that you have the same measurement up here. If you're a little bit off, which would be about a 1/16, it's not a big deal. In this case, we're about a 1/16 off. If you're more than a 1/16 off, you can adjust it slightly by taking a screw out, going to the next hole in, and moving it in the direction that it needs to go. So now that we know it's secured, we can finish installing the table by installing the rest of the screws. Now that the screws are in, we'll lay the table back down. It's best to use a smaller drill bit first for a pilot hole. Try to center it between the grommet as best as possible. Next, you can switch to your 5/16 inch drill bit. You're going to want to lift the table up to access your pilot hole. And drill through the bed face. And next, rotate the bed face up. You're going to hand the knob to your assistant. He's going to stick it through the hole that you drilled. You're going to have him thread the knob onto the end of the T-nut from this side. You want to try to keep it centered in your hole. Once it's nice and snug, you can give it a tap with the hammer. Have them tighten it up again. And you can secure it with the 3/8 inch screws. You'll probably only be able to put 2 of these on, which is fine. And now you can tighten the knob all the way. So now that the knob's installed, we can lay our bed face back down. You can unscrew the knob, lift the table back up. You can take your grommet, center it in the hole, and pound it in. Put your knob back on. And that's installing the table. For the next step, we're ready to prepare the bed box to accept the bed. For this, we're going to need the 2 Met covers. There's a left and a right. We're going to need the 4 flathead slotted screws. There's a danger sticker and the PVC pipe for charging the mech. The danger sticker, put in one of the Met covers, so that way you can still read it, but it's not in your way. First you want to charge the mech. You'll notice it on the arm here, there's a little slotted lever. You want to have that down. You want to brace the wall side with your foot. Put the PVC pipe over the mechanism arm. You want to pull back, and as you're pulling back, you're going to make sure that slotted lever rides up on the top of the mech bolt so that the slot in it can lock into the nut. You want to repeat that process for the other side. Now that we have charged the mechanisms, we can install the mechanism covers. So each side gets 2 of the flathead screws. There's 2 tabs. want to slide those into the tab holes. There's 2 holes down at the bottom of the mech cover. That's where the screws go. Use a standard screwdriver and then repeat the process for the other side. In your mechanism box, you'll find 3 large plastic bumpers. The last step before installing the bed is to place the bumpers up on the top, 1 in the center, 2 about 3 to 4 inches from the sides. Now we're ready to load the bed onto the mechanisms. You're definitely going to want a second person to help you with this. You're going to stand the bed face up and twist it around. Now if you don't have the optional table, you will not have to twist it around like this. You'll just be able to flip it right up and then install it from there. What you're going to want to do is get the metal rails of the bed in between the mechanism arms. You want to make sure what we're going to be doing on each side is both of us are going to be lifting up, and the top bolt on the rail is going to be going into the slot on the mechanism arm. You're going to want to lift at the same time. Ready? Now you're going to want to let the bed face down enough to release the tabs on the mechanism arms. Now we're ready to install the rest of the bolts for the mechanism arm. I'm going to take the 2 black bolts, came out of the mechanism box, and the 2 remaining nylock nuts. You're going to put them in the center. Of the mechanism arm. If it doesn't go right in, you can thread it in. This is where you're going to want a 1/2 inch socket with your ratchet. You're also going to want your 1/2 inch wrench. You're going to want to tighten the top bolt too. You're going to want to repeat the process for the other side. These are the legs. There's 4 washers on this. One's very thin. It's on the very inside. And you're going to have the second washer. And stick it in the farthest hole towards the foot of the bed. And you got your largest washer. And your last washer. You're going to have to kind of hold the large washer to kind of center it over the stud. You're going to want to tighten this so you don't want it too tight, you want to be able to move it, but you don't want it too loose. So just a nice and snug where it still moves with some resistance. You want to repeat this for the other side.